All right, let me tell you something. You probably grab a carton of eggs or a pack of chicken from the store without much thought. But behind that simple purchase is an industry of staggering scale. We're talking billions. And I mean billions with a B of birds raised for meat and eggs in this country every single year. It's a colossal operation, a testament to American ingenuity, and, let's be honest, a ravenous appetite for poultry. It's easy to picture endless rows of sheds. And for a lot of the industry, that's not far from the truth. Now here's where things get interesting and why I'm here, narrating for Joe and his crew at American Harvest Uncovered. There's a growing movement, a shift in thinking towards how we raise these birds. We're going to be focusing on pasture-raised poultry birds that actually get to see the sun, scratch in the dirt, and live a life that's a far cry from the confinement of many conventional factory farms. It's about a different kind of farming, one that considers the animal, the land, and ultimately, the food on your plate. It's not always the easiest way or the cheapest, but a lot of folks believe it's the right way. So buckle up. We're about to take a journey across this great land, state by state, to look at how American farming, especially when it comes to our feathered friends, is evolving. We'll see the good, the challenging, and maybe even some of the dirty bits, because that's where the real story often lies. From the vast plains to smaller, dedicated farms, we're digging into what it really means to raise poultry in America today, and how some folks are trying to do it a little differently. It's a big country, with a lot of farms and even more opinions. So when we talk about poultry farming in the US, you gotta understand the sheer magnitude of it. It's not just a quaint little barnyard scene, it's an industrial powerhouse. We're churning out something like 9 billion broiler chickens a year. 9 billion. Wrap your head around that. And that's just the chickens raised for meat. Then you've got the egg layers, hundreds of millions of them, producing an avalanche of eggs daily. It's a system designed for maximum output, feeding a nation and a good chunk of the world. But here's the kicker, and it's a central theme for Joe's channel here. When you look at how these birds are raised, the picture gets a bit more complicated. Out of all those billions of birds, only a tiny fraction, something around 7%, are considered pasture-raised. That means the vast majority are in conventional systems, often indoors, in densely populated environments. This isn't a judgment necessarily, it's just the reality of trying to produce that much food, that affordably. But that 7%, that's where a different philosophy takes root. Those pasture-raised operations, while small in overall percentage, are making a lot of noise. They represent a conscious choice, a move towards what many believe is a more natural and humane way of doing things. It's about giving the birds space to roam, forage, and express their natural behaviors. This often means more work for the farmer, more land, and sometimes a higher price tag for the consumer. But for a growing number of people, the benefits for the animals, the environment, and the quality of the food are worth it. Now, where is all this happening? Well, poultry farming in general isn't spread out evenly like butter on toast. Certain states are absolute titans in this industry. Think Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas, right? That includes their poultry operations. Then you've got states like Iowa, deep in the agricultural heartland, and Minnesota, known for more than just its cold winters. These states are major players, home to vast numbers of birds and the infrastructure that supports this massive enterprise. The concentration in these areas makes sense when you think about it. Access to feed, like corn and soybeans, which are grown abundantly in the Midwest, is crucial. Established processing plants, a skilled labor force, and a supportive agricultural community all play a part. So when we talk about changing the game or increasing that 7% of pasture-raised birds, these are the regions where even small shifts can have a big impact. It's a complex web of economics, tradition, and increasingly consumer demand. What we're seeing is a slow but steady current moving against the tide of pure industrial scale. It's farmers, often smaller independent ones, but increasingly some larger operations too, who are looking at the old ways and saying, maybe there's a better way. Or at least a different way that's worth exploring. It's about balancing efficiency with ethics, production with principle. And that, my friends, is a story worth telling. One coop, one pasture, one state at a time. All right, let's head over to Indiana, specifically Tipton County. Now, Indiana might be famous for basketball and the Indy 500, but it's also got some serious agricultural chops. And nestled in that landscape, you'll find farms where ducks are not just surviving, but thriving, living a life that's a world away from what many might picture. We're talking about ducks that get to waddle, forage, and do all the ducky things they were born to do, out on green pastures. Imagine the scene, a flock of ducks, maybe pekins or khaki Campbells, spreading out across a field as the sun comes up. Their day isn't spent cooped up. It's an active pursuit of, well, whatever a duck finds interesting. They're natural foragers, these guys. They'll be out there, heads down, rummaging through the grass and soil for tasty morsels, bugs, worms, tender greens, you name it. It's like a perpetual salad bar for them. And it's not just for fun, it adds variety and nutrition to their diet that you just can't replicate with feed alone. Now don't get me wrong, these pasture-raised ducks aren't living entirely off the land like their wild cousins. The farmers provide them with a balanced grain supplement. This ensures they're getting all the necessary protein, vitamins, and minerals to stay healthy and productive, especially when it comes to laying those beautiful, rich eggs. Think of the pasture as their main course and the grain as the essential side dish that rounds out the meal perfectly. It's a carefully managed system. And speaking of productivity, let's talk eggs. These pasture-raised ducks can be surprisingly prolific layers. Depending on the breed and the conditions, a healthy, happy duck hen out on pasture can lay an egg almost every day, sometimes for several years. We're talking upwards of 200, even 300 eggs per year from a single duck in some prime breeds. That's a serious output, and it's a testament to how well they can do when given the space and environment that suits their natural inclinations. The daily rhythm on these farms is dictated by the ducks and the seasons. Farmers are out there moving fences, ensuring fresh pasture, checking water sources. Ducks love their water, as we'll discuss, and collecting eggs. It's hands-on work, requiring a keen eye for the flock's health and the condition of the pasture. It's a partnership in a way between the farmer and the birds, working with nature rather than trying to completely control it. What you see in Tipton County is a model that emphasizes a more holistic approach. The ducks contribute to the pasture's health with their foraging and droppings, natural fertilizer. And the pasture, in turn, provides them with a stimulating environment and a significant portion of their diet. It's a cycle, and when it's managed well, it benefits everyone involved, from the ducks themselves to the folks who eventually enjoy those incredible duck eggs. It's a different pace, a different philosophy, and it's happening right there in the heartland. Now, when we talk about duck eggs, there's a pretty stark contrast between how they're produced in a large-scale factory setting versus a pasture-raised system. It's not just about the address of the duck, it's about their entire quality of life, and many would argue, the quality of the egg itself. In conventional high-density operations, the focus is often on maximizing output per square foot. This can mean thousands of ducks housed indoors, sometimes without access to open water for bathing. The egg output in these factory systems can be high, no doubt about it. They've got the science of feed conversion and laying cycles down to, science. Controlled lighting, optimized feed formulations. It's all geared towards getting as many eggs as possible, as efficiently as possible. But there's a trade-off. Ducks are waterfowl. That might seem obvious, but it's a crucial point. Their well-being is intrinsically linked to having access to water not just for drinking, but for bathing, for dunking their heads, for cleaning their eyes and nostrils. This is where pasture-based systems, or even systems that provide ample access to bathing pools, really shine. On a pasture-raised farm, you'll see ducks joyfully splashing, preening, and cleaning themselves in pools, ponds, or even simple kiddie pools provided by the farmer. This isn't just a luxury, it's essential for their health. Clean feathers provide better insulation, and regular bathing helps prevent parasites and skin issues. A happy, clean duck is generally a healthier and more productive duck. Some folks might argue that providing extensive bathing facilities for thousands of ducks in a factory setting is impractical or too costly. And from a purely industrial efficiency standpoint, they might have a point. But the advocates for pasture-raised and welfare-focused systems would counter that the long-term health and productivity of the birds, not to mention the ethical considerations, make it a worthwhile investment. They believe that meeting these natural behavioral needs leads to less stress, stronger immune systems, and ultimately, a better life for the ducks. Interestingly, while the sheer volume from a consolidated factory farm might seem unbeatable, individual pasture-raised ducks, as we mentioned with the Indiana example, can be fantastic layers. When their environmental and behavioral needs are met, they can maintain high production levels for extended periods. The argument isn't always about more eggs, but better eggs, from healthier, happier birds. Consumers who seek out pasture-raised duck eggs often report richer yolks and a superior taste, which they attribute to the varied diet and lower stress levels of the birds. So the comparison isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about a fundamental difference in philosophy. Is the goal solely to maximize egg count in the shortest time, or is it to produce high-quality food in a way that respects the animal's nature? For ducks, that access to bathing water is a non-negotiable part of their identity. Denying them that, or making it difficult, changes the equation. It's something to think about next time you see duck eggs for sale. Where did they come from? And what kind of life did the duck that laid them lead? Alright, let's shift gears and head north, up to Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes, and, as it turns out, a whole lot of turkeys. Minnesota is a heavyweight champion in the turkey farming world. They consistently rank as one of the top, if not the top, turkey-producing states in the nation. We're talking tens of millions of turkeys raised there every year. It's a cornerstone of their agricultural economy, and they've got the process down, from hatchery to Thanksgiving table. Traditionally, a lot of turkey farming, much like chicken farming, involved raising birds indoors in large barns. This provides protection from predators and the harsh Minnesota weather, and allows for a controlled environment. However, just as we're seeing with chickens and ducks, there's a growing interest and movement towards getting these turkeys outdoors, at least for part of their lives. The transition often involves starting the young poults, that's baby turkeys for you city folk, indoors, where they're vulnerable. Once these poults are feathered out and a bit more robust, usually after several weeks, those farmers embracing pasture-based methods will move them to outdoor ranges. These ranges can be anything from dedicated pastures to wooded areas, allowing the turkeys to forage, dust bathe, and stretch their legs and wings in a more natural setting. It's a different management style, requiring careful attention to fencing to keep predators out and the turkeys in, as well as providing shelter from extreme weather. Now, if you've only ever seen a wild turkey, you might be surprised by the size of their farmed counterparts, especially the broad-breasted varieties commonly raised for meat. These birds have been selectively bred over generations for rapid growth and a lot of breast meat, which is what most consumers prefer. They can get significantly larger than wild turkeys, sometimes to the point where natural mating becomes difficult, and artificial insemination is common in the breeding programs for these commercial lines. The wild turkey, on the other hand, is a leaner, more agile bird built for survival in the wild. While pasture-raised farmed turkeys get to experience a more natural environment, they are still, by and large, these selectively bred commercial strains. The focus for pasture-raised turkey farmers is often on providing that better quality of life, access to fresh air and forage, which they believe contributes to a healthier bird and a better-tasting product. Minnesota's leadership in turkey farming means they have a vast infrastructure: the feed mills, the processing plants, the veterinary expertise. This established system can be both a hurdle and a help for farmers looking to adopt pasture-raised methods. It's a hurdle because the system is geared for large-scale, conventional production. But it's a help because the knowledge and resources are there. It's about adapting and innovating within that existing framework, or sometimes stepping outside it to create new models for raising these iconic American birds. Let's mosey on over to Iowa, the Hawkeye State. When you think Iowa, you probably think corn, and you'd be right. But all that corn helps fuel another massive agricultural sector, chicken farming. Iowa is consistently at the top of the charts for egg production and is a major player in raising chickens for meat as well. The sheer scale of chicken farming in Iowa is mind-boggling, with hundreds of millions of birds dotting its landscape, mostly in large, modern poultry houses. The journey for most of these chickens, even those destined for a pasture-raised life, begins indoors. Tiny, fluffy chicks arrive from the hatchery and are placed in a brooder. This is a warm, safe, enclosed space that mimics the conditions under a mother hen. They need this controlled environment for the first few weeks of their lives to protect them from temperature fluctuations and to ensure they get a good start with easy access to food and water. It's a critical period for their development. Once the chicks have grown, feathered out, and are hardy enough to handle the great outdoors, or at least the Iowa version of it, those on pasture-raised farms make the big move. This transition has to be managed carefully. They're introduced to a new environment, new sights, sounds, and the concept of foraging. Mobile coops or hoop houses are often used, providing shelter at night and during bad weather, while allowing the birds access to fresh pasture each day as the coops are moved. Now here's an interesting wrinkle, the term free range. It sounds idyllic, doesn't it? Birds happily roaming vast green fields. But the official USDA definition of free range for labeling purposes simply requires that producers demonstrate that the poultry has been allowed access to the outside. The quality or duration of that access isn't always clearly defined, which can lead to a wide spectrum of what free range actually looks like in practice. Some free range operations might just have a small outdoor run attached to a large barn. This is why many farmers and consumers are looking beyond just free range to terms like pasture-raised, which typically implies a more robust commitment to outdoor living and rotational grazing. However, finding farms that meet the more stringent, often third-party certified pasture-raised standards can be a challenge. Officially designated and certified pasture-raised farms are still relatively rare compared to the colossal number of conventional chicken farms, even in a poultry powerhouse like Iowa. The commitment to true pasture raising in a state geared for high-volume conventional agriculture takes dedication. These Iowa farmers are often going against the grain, investing in different infrastructure, different management practices, and often a different relationship with their birds and their land. They're part of that 7% we talked about earlier, working to provide an alternative and showing that even in the heart of Big Ag, there's room for a different kind of chicken farming. So what exactly are these pasture-raised chickens eating when they're out there scratching and pecking? Well, it's a veritable smorgasbord compared to a diet of solely formulated feed. They're omnivores, these birds. They'll eagerly gobble up insects, worms, seeds, grasses, and various plants they find as they roam. This natural foraging behavior not only keeps them busy and stimulated, but also diversifies their nutrient intake in ways that manufactured feed alone can't quite replicate. Of course, just like the ducks we talked about, pasture-raised chickens are also provided with a balanced commercial feed by the farmer. This ensures they get the consistent protein, carbohydrates, vitamins, and minerals necessary for healthy growth and robust egg production. The pasture provides the fresh, natural supplements, and the feed provides the foundational nutrition. It's a complementary system, designed to give them the best of both worlds. Many believe this very diet contributes to the richer, darker yolks and firmer whites, often found in eggs from pastured hens. Now, let's talk about the sheer volume of eggs produced in the United States. It's astronomical. We're talking about a country that produces over 100 billion eggs annually. That's billion with a B. The vast majority of these come from hens in conventional cage systems or increasingly cage-free indoor systems. These systems are designed for peak efficiency in egg collection and bird management on a massive scale. The logistics of feeding, watering, and collecting eggs from millions of hens daily is an engineering marvel in itself. And who's eating all these eggs? We are. The average American consumes a surprising number of eggs each year, somewhere in the neighborhood of 280 to 290 eggs per person. That includes whole eggs scrambled for breakfast, as well as eggs used as ingredients in everything from cakes and cookies to mayonnaise and pasta. Eggs are a nutritional powerhouse, packed with protein and essential nutrients, and they're a relatively affordable food source, which contributes to their popularity. When you compare the life of a caged hen, whose primary function is to lay eggs in a confined space, to that of a pasture-raised hen, the differences are stark. The pasture-raised hen gets to engage in a full range of natural behaviors: dust bathing, foraging, perching, stretching its wings, and interacting with a more complex environment. Proponents argue this not only leads to better animal welfare, but can also influence the nutritional profile of the eggs, potentially leading to higher levels of certain vitamins and omega-3 fatty acids. The choice between eggs from different systems ultimately comes down to the consumer, but it's a choice best made with information. Understanding the scale of production, the dietary differences, and what life is actually like for the hens laying those eggs is crucial. As more people become aware of these distinctions, the demand for eggs from systems that prioritize animal welfare and a more natural approach, like pasture raising, continues to grow, signaling a potential shift in that massive egg industry. Now, we've been clucking and quacking a fair bit about poultry, and rightfully so, given the title of Joe's series here. But American farming is a vast, interconnected tapestry, and to really get a sense of its scale, especially when we hit a state like Texas. You gotta look beyond the barnyard animals sometimes. Down in the Lone Star State, they do things big, and that includes what they grow out of the ground. One of the undisputed kings of Texas agriculture? Cotton. You might not think of cotton when you're pondering pasture-raised anything, but stick with me. Texas is the undisputed leader in cotton production in the United States by a country mile. They plant millions of acres of it every year. We're talking about an area that, if you put it all together, would dwarf some entire states. The landscape in cotton-growing regions of Texas transforms into a sea of green plants that eventually burst forth with those iconic white fluffy bolls. The economic impact of cotton in Texas is colossal. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, supporting countless jobs from the farm to the gin and all the way to the textile mills. It's not just about the fibers for your jeans and t-shirts either. Cottonseed is a valuable byproduct used for livestock feed. See, there's a connection back to our animal friends. And cottonseed oil finds its way into all sorts of food products. It's a plant that keeps on giving. Farming cotton on this scale is a high-tech, high-stakes endeavor. It involves sophisticated machinery for planting, cultivating, and harvesting. Farmers rely on detailed weather forecasts, soil science, and pest management strategies to bring in a successful crop. And in a state like Texas, water management is often a critical piece of the puzzle, with irrigation playing a key role in many cotton-producing areas, especially in the drier western parts of the state. While it might seem like a detour from our feathered friends, understanding the sheer scale and diversity of agriculture in a state like Texas helps paint the bigger picture. The same land ethic, the same dedication to working the soil and managing resources applies whether you're raising chickens on pasture or cultivating thousands of acres of cotton. It's all part of the grand, complex system that feeds and clothes us. And who knows, maybe those cotton seeds, after processing, end up in the feed ration for some of those pasture-raised chickens we've been talking about, bringing it all full circle. The point is, American farming, especially in a powerhouse state like Texas, isn't just one thing. It's a multitude of operations, big and small, traditional and innovative, all contributing to the national output. And cotton is a massive thread in that fabric. Alright, so we've touched on cotton in Texas. But let's swing back to four-legged agriculture for a moment, though maybe not the kind that immediately springs to mind when you think of Texas ranching. While cattle might be king, Texas is also the #1 state in the United States for goat farming. That's right, goats. Millions of them. It's a huge industry, though it often flies under the radar compared to beef or even poultry. These aren't just pet goats in a suburban backyard. We're talking large-scale commercial operations, primarily raising goats for meat, known as chivan or cabrito, and also for mohair from Angora goats. The dry, brushy landscapes found in many parts of Texas, particularly the Edwards Plateau region, are actually pretty well suited for raising goats. They're browsers, not just grazers, meaning they happily munch on shrubs, weeds, and woody plants that cattle might turn their noses up at. This browsing ability makes them excellent for land management. Ranchers often use goats to help control invasive brush species and improve pasture quality for other livestock. It's a form of natural land clearing. The goats thrive on this diverse forage, and it's a sustainable way to manage rangelands. They're hardy animals, well adapted to the sometimes harsh Texas climate, requiring less intensive management than some other livestock. The scale of goat farming in Texas is impressive. The state accounts for a huge percentage of the total United States goat inventory. This means there's a well-established infrastructure for marketing and processing. Every year, hundreds of thousands of goats are processed in Texas, supplying a growing demand for goat meat, which is a staple protein in many cultures around the world, and is gaining popularity in the United States for its lean quality and distinct flavor. Managing these large herds involves many of the same principles as other livestock operations: ensuring access to fresh water, providing supplemental feed when forage is scarce, managing herd health, and of course, protecting them from predators like coyotes, which can be a significant challenge. Guardian animals like Anatolian shepherds or Great Pyrenees dogs are often used to live with and protect the goat herds. It's a constant job, requiring vigilance and a deep understanding of animal behavior. So, while our main story here is about the pasture-raised poultry revolution, it's important to recognize the diversity of animal agriculture. In Texas, goat farming is a significant, often unsung part of that agricultural landscape. These animals are efficiently turning less than ideal rangeland into valuable protein and fiber, contributing to the state's economy and offering another example of how farmers adapt their practices to the land and the market. It's another piece of the giant American farming puzzle. You can't talk about Texas agriculture or even just Texas without talking about cattle. It's iconic. The image of the cowboy, the sprawling ranches, the endless herds, it's woven into the very fabric of the state's identity and its economy, and it's not just folklore. Texas is, by a long shot, the #1 cattle-producing state in the nation, home to millions of head of cattle, making up a significant portion of the entire United States beef industry. Daily operations on a Texas cattle ranch are a year-round commitment, dictated by the seasons and the needs of the herd. There's checking fences, miles and miles of them, ensuring water sources are clean and accessible, especially crucial during those scorching Texas summers. Calving season is an intense period, requiring ranchers to monitor pregnant cows, assist with births if necessary, and ensure the newborn calves are healthy and nursing. It's demanding work, often from sunup to sundown. The sheer scale of some of these ranches is hard to comprehend. We're talking about operations that can span tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of acres. Managing grazing on such vast tracts of land is a science in itself. Ranchers practice rotational grazing, moving herds between different pastures to allow vegetation to recover, prevent overgrazing, and optimize the use of their land. This is crucial for maintaining healthy rangelands and ensuring a sustainable food source for the cattle. Texas's contribution to the United States beef supply is enormous. From cow-calf operations, where calves are born and raised, to feedlots where cattle are finished before processing, the state plays a vital role at every stage. The industry supports a massive network of related businesses, from feed suppliers and veterinarians to auction houses and transportation companies. It's a complex chain that ultimately puts beef on tables across the country and around the world. While much of the focus is on large-scale operations, there's also a growing interest in different production models within the Texas cattle industry, much like we see with poultry. Niche markets for grass-fed beef, organic beef, and beef from specific heritage breeds are expanding. These often involve different management practices, perhaps more intensive rotational grazing or eschewing the use of hormones and antibiotics. It's a response to consumer demand for more transparency and different choices in their beef. So, as we explore the American farming revolution, even if our lens is primarily on poultry, the shadow of the Texas cattle industry looms large. It's a reminder of the immense scale, the deep traditions, and the continuous evolution within all sectors of agriculture. The principles of land stewardship, animal husbandry, and adapting to market forces are universal. Whether you're raising a flock of chickens or managing a 1,000-head herd of cattle under the big Texas sky. We've covered a lot of ground in Texas, from cotton to goats to the mighty cattle industry, but the agricultural bounty of this state doesn't stop there. Texas also boasts a surprisingly diverse and productive vegetable farming sector. You might not immediately associate the Lone Star State with delicate lettuces or juicy watermelons on a massive scale, but they are a major player in providing fresh produce for the nation's tables. The variety of vegetables grown across Texas is pretty astounding, thanks in part to its sheer size and diverse climates, from the more humid east to the irrigated fields of the Rio Grande Valley in the south. We're talking onions, spinach, carrots, cabbage, potatoes, sweet potatoes, melons, and, yes, a whole lot of lettuce. The Rio Grande Valley, in particular, is a winter garden for much of the country, producing fresh vegetables when many other regions are blanketed in snow. A significant aspect of vegetable harvesting, not just in Texas but across the United States, is the reliance on skilled labor, often provided by migrant and seasonal farm workers. Harvesting most vegetables is intensive, demanding work, often done by hand. These workers are the backbone of the fresh produce industry, moving with the seasons to ensure crops are picked at their peak ripeness. Their contribution is immense and absolutely essential to getting those fresh veggies from the field to your grocery store. Let's take lettuce, for example. It might seem like a simple salad green, but the United States as a whole has a voracious appetite for it. National lettuce consumption is huge. We eat pounds of it per person every year, and states like Texas are crucial in meeting that demand, especially during certain times of the year. The logistics of harvesting, cooling, packing, and shipping a perishable crop like lettuce on a large scale are incredibly complex and time-sensitive. The challenges in vegetable farming are numerous. Water availability, pest and disease management, market price fluctuations, and ensuring a reliable labor force. Texas farmers, like their counterparts everywhere, are constantly adapting, using new technologies, irrigation techniques, and crop varieties to stay productive and sustainable. It's a tough business, requiring resilience and a deep understanding of both agriculture and economics. So, as we wrap up our look at the breadth of American farming, particularly through the lens of a state as agriculturally dominant as Texas, it's clear that the story is far bigger than any single commodity. Whether it's pasture-raised poultry, vast fields of cotton, herds of cattle and goats, or rows upon rows of fresh vegetables, it's all part of a dynamic system. It's about the hard work, the innovation, and the dedication of countless individuals who make their living from the land, feeding and clothing us all. Well, there you have it. From the small-scale pasture where chickens scratch and peck, to the colossal operations that define much of American agriculture, it's clear that farming in this country is a story of incredible diversity and breathtaking scale. We've seen how a small percentage of poultry farmers are embracing pasture-raised methods, and we've glimpsed the sheer size of industries like cotton, cattle, and vegetable production, especially in a powerhouse state like Texas. It's a complex, interconnected world, and it's all happening just beyond our grocery store aisles. The journey through these different farms and practices, especially our focus on pasture-raised poultry, really underscores a growing conversation about where our food comes from. The move towards pasture raising isn't just about idyllic farm scenes. It's about tangible benefits for animal welfare, potentially for the environment, and many argue, for the quality and nutritional value of the food itself. It's about recognizing that how we raise our animals and grow our crops has a profound impact, and that there are farmers out there committed to methods that prioritize more than just sheer volume. So, what's the takeaway from all this? For me, and hopefully for you watching Joe's American Harvest Uncovered, it's about being a more informed consumer. Take a moment to think about your choices. Learn about the farms in your region, support local farmers when you can, and ask questions about how your food is produced. The American farming landscape is always evolving, and your choices, your voice, and your fork can all play a part in shaping its future. Thanks for coming along for the ride.